This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
What is happening, guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast. The gentleman I'm going to bring on today, you will see the amount of energy, love, inspiration he brings. It's infectious. I'm excited. He gets me absolutely excited every time I get a chance to talk to him. Viliami Tuivai is a success coach, author, national keynote speaker, community leader, and Hollywood radio show host. For more than a decade, tens of thousands have gained value from his Pasifika spirit, mesmerizing energy, and transformational empowerment of Coach V's business and personal development approach. As a success coach, V trains and teaches in 30 industries, Fortune 1000, Fortune 500, and Fortune 100 companies, is in 8 markets nationally, and has virtual coaching clients that work with him monthly, bi-monthly, and quarterly. Now that I got through trying to pronounce that properly, my brother, how you doing?
My man, JM, know that I think the same about you. I've been so excited to come on, not just to be featured, and I'm grateful for that, but just to have another opportunity to fellowship with you. Thanks for having me, brother JM.
Brother, it is truly my pleasure. And I do know your story to a degree. I'm excited to hear it a little bit more, but I just have to ask, the energy, the spirit, what you bring to the table, were you just blessed with that, brother? Or is that putting in work every single day? Because it's infectious and I want more of it. So tell me, man, is this something that you pop out of bed and you're like, boom, this is how I am?
Well, I do think there is part of like walking on stage that differs than my regular personality, where I do bring it up a level. But there's just so much to be grateful for, JM. If people have seen what I have seen, been through what I have been through, and come here and started this American dream journey. We have started, my parents and I, Mela and Semisi Tuivai, here with humble beginnings. So it's just so rooted in gratitude. And that is something that is not something that's staged. I believe it's very authentic, and it has also served me well. Just like all of us, we see those things that have served us, whether that is positivity, having a great attitude, or just being kind and generous to others. It has really served me well. So I've totally subscribed to that and deployed that into my life leadership and my business, brother JM.
Well, and when he's talking grateful, guys, before he came officially on air, in the background, I was hearing him say goodbye to his kids. I love how you're just like, I love you. Have an amazing day. It just makes me smile, brother, to hear others give that love to their kids. The way you show up for them is the same way you show up for your clients. So truly authentic through and through. So, brother, talk to me, man. So you were just coming out of the womb and, man, you're going to be a success coach. You are going to be a national speaker. That's just the way it worked, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I've just been so, like, God's amazing grace, unmerited and undeserved favor on my life, that of my parents, my siblings, and my current family with Martha and I, Susan, Mela, and Junior. I think really my thought process was, after going back to UC Davis as a 23-year-old sophomore, was to be what it is that I thought mentors were to me, which changed my life, was to be a high school head football coach, and then teach PE was my deal. It really was. And upon receiving a phone call by the former Boise State head coach, Dan Hawkins, I took a risk to be a graduate assistant, to make $380 a month and pursue a dream of possibly becoming a Division I football coach. So that was really the deal. But I just translated all of the things I've learned in championship experiences, not theories, not some stuff that I saw on a YouTube channel or something that I read. I think all of those knowledge acquisitions are very appropriate and very valuable, but I actually experienced both in my playing days in high school at UC Davis is really whipping ass and taking names, and having a process that where there were replicable tasks and steps that created replicable outcomes and successes. So I just translated those championship experiences that I had. And upon just speaking at one event in 2007, after we actually beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl and went undefeated, it's the greatest first season in Boise State football history. I was invited to speak at an event which I was already speaking, mentoring, all for free at churches, elementary schools, anywhere he would take me. And then I was being paid thousands after I stepped off stage. And then I just connected the dots that I wanted to have more family time. I wanted to be able to go to church on Sundays. I wanted to be not just a slave to my profession and the money that I was earning, but I wanted to actually have a life that I could have great earning potential. And I found God's gift within me calling that, let's go try this. And that's how I became a keynote speaker, Brother JM.
Well, and it pours out of you, man. I marvel at your ability to just string words together in an eloquent way, passionate about it, and it all makes sense somehow. I'm like, okay, that's good. So tell me, man, you weren't necessarily classically trained, and you mentioned your faith a little bit, but this really does pour out of you. Something comes from you, and I know you learned a lot, obviously, playing football and that process. But brother, the way it comes through, it is like it's God's gift to you because you're extremely gifted at it.
I appreciate that. It really is. One thing I'd say is that I have accepted and I am really comfortable in my own skin of an anointing that has been blessed upon me. That's one, is to have the courage to live that out. And then two is the fact that it took thousands of reps to figure out what not to say, how not to say it, when to tone down the energy, when to actually focus and change your voice inflection, and then the right conveyance in terms of the usage of word where it increases the value of the recipient or the audience. Not saying it from my perspective, but an industry focus or a age, gender focus, or a spiritual approach that is now most appropriate for the uplifting and the self-empowering that they would gain the information from me. And then also now apply it into their lives because I've said it in a particular way that they would accept it, into opening their hearts and minds to the change and the level up that they were aspiring for. But then I'd also say that we all think we learn the lesson and then we take the test, but it's really the test that we take, and then that test teaches us the lesson. For example, marriage. I mean, you think you know, but you don't know until you take the test. Raising kids. There's a book that's called Baby Wise, and I think it's also like They Parent Wise Us. But then stepping on stage and getting the actual reps that forge a curriculum, a process, a mental approach that is unwavering, that is unrelentless, and that connects to your self-belief according, and then also does these three things, is when you build human connection, you build validation, you prove that you can actually do what you could say, and then you create value. And then I think those are the three things that I call the Coach V law of attraction, that you attract success. And I do believe that's the model that I named after I did it. And then I figured out what I named it. But that has been my success path in what it is that I do, and grateful for it, brother.
So you talked about reps, and not exactly everyone's favorite thing to be like, yes, I'm going to go out there and bust my ass. And I imagine, again, being a college athlete, you obviously learned that even before being a college athlete, but doing reps, that's just part of what athletes do. but you took that into your craft in speaking. Why is it people are so afraid of the reps? Because isn't that some of the most fun, doing that work, figuring out the how to do it better? Talk to me about that, brother, because so often when you say I get excited, but I watch other people sometimes when you say reps, are like, ugh. But I miss
Yeah.
reps, brother. I miss doing that stuff
Yeah.
in the field. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's so many people that are transactional that if I do these things, I get these things. And that's where the anxiety comes in terms of this anxiety performance curve of not looking forward to putting in the work or putting in the repetition, because we all know that we are what we repeatedly do, but there's no guarantee of the outcome or success, winning or championships. So that way people are not really sure if their investment would yield the product or achievement that they want. Therefore, they versus the people who are purpose like me, shit, I look forward to the reps because there was no other avenue. This was my deal. If I either did it or died, period. And people say, man, we've seen you come along such a long way in the last 11 years since leaving Boise State. Well, I appreciate that. And I have come light years from where it is that I've been in terms of attracting opportunities and then really performing at a high level in those, which generate referrals and stuff like that. But really, I just wasn't scared of failing and if the reps would amount to anything, because that was my only way. That was my only path. I had to fail to succeed, and failure and struggle is the same path of achievement and success and progress. And so the reps it is that and now, you could do practice. And we all talk about Allen Iverson, where he says, and he negatively is connotated in saying this, is practice. We talk about practice. But so practice was my only route. So I don't really take a lot of value in people pat me on the back for coming from where I am to today. And then that's the only way to level up, progress, and create and attract opportunity. So you can despise it, or you can go at it with passion, vigor, focus, and really bring to that the repetition, this physical, mental, and spiritual repetition, where it does become second nature, because the pressures of the test that teaches you the lesson of where you are, that doesn't happen at practice. That happens when somebody pays you $10,000 to $20,000 and you walk your ass up on stage and you have to deliver. Speaking for free has no consequence. Hey, you didn't pay me, all good. But now somebody starts paying you that kind of cheddar, then you really have to level up and make sure that your preparation meets now the execution and performance, and that you meet the objectives and what it is that is being expected by the client and or the people that hired you.
So I want to talk about the fail to succeed, because so often, when I talk to people that are, successful, they've really reached a level of success in their industry. They all talk about failure. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I imagine, brother, you still encounter failure, or at least I do on a daily. And I have a bit of a process. So do you have a specific process, or is it just getting back up? And I'm just curious, man, because obviously athletes know this, you're going to get knocked down, you got to get back up. But do you have a specific process when it comes to failure to remind yourself that Coach V is this guy? Coach V has these tools. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's just this aspect of review, refine, and regenerate. So you review what it is that you have done. Sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce our way in life, leadership, business, sports, or relationships. So you mark it up as a lesson, and that if you do see those same factors again, that you do your best to avoid them, or make sure that you can function and perform at the level that's demanded by your success. And then there's like this reformulate, and then the change that's needed, which is usually the hardest one. Well, because it's one thing if the timing doesn't work out, but if they don't see value in you, then how do you, in this failure reviewing process, now make sure that you come up with a solution so that people do see value. They connect to you humanly, and they see the value it is that you can bring to their organization or to them individually. It's not just if I fail every day. Every day there's a client or an organization that just says, you know what, right now we're going to go with an industry expert versus you. And I get all that. But then if it's because of the fact that we didn't correspond in a certain time in a manner that they liked, or if what it is that I was talking about in terms of trying to oversell myself versus just, hey, this is who I am, I'd love to help. Tell us what the objectives and what content you would like to have. We come up with a meeting for that. If I've done my due diligence, then I live with the consequences. But there is going to be some change if there is some aspect of the process that we could fix and level up so that we could attract that attention and make sure that we secure an opportunity. Oh, that's the process it is that we have done in sports, right, JM? Right? And then in marriage, you say some things or do some things. It's like, well, note to self, don't do that again. And then also, even more importantly, that you take the successes and you rep it and you apply it and you relook at the successes and you duplicate those processes so you can have replicable steps that create replicable outcomes and results.
I want to talk because you mentioned marriage a couple times and relationships in general, they're work, right? There's no question about it. Just like anything you wanted in sports, you had to work for it. It didn't come easy. It's not the way. But so often I think people expect, well, I found my soulmate. This should be easy.
Right.
Talk to me about that, brother, because I know coming from what you do for a living, part of that is challenging because you talk certain things, but you can't always show up that way, or at least I can't. Right. Some of my, I'm not living every single moment.
Yeah.
I know them, but I'm not necessarily. So talk to me about that, brother. How does that show up in your world and kind of some of the things that you have seen and developed to have that successful relationship that you and Martha have?
Yeah. It is ongoing, never ending and relentless. The accountability and the things it is that takes to create amazing relationships. And in that, I would say my quote from my book, Life Champion, there's money in the transaction, but the wealth is in the relationships. Now, if the relationship is not valuable or toxic, or it doesn't bring value to your life, cut their asses out of your life. But from there, the people that you value, understand that humans, in terms of the 5 things I speak on and coach and teach on, is impacting positively how people think, how they feel, what they do, how they see things, and how they say things, which is now mindset, emotional intelligence, performance, perspective, and effective communication. Applying that to your relationship, understand this in all of your relationships. Any simple process or task orientation or understanding of a notion is all simple until you add humans into the equation. Because the first 2 things that I talked about in terms of mindset and emotional intelligence, you know, people don't see things as they are. They see things as the myriad of experiences that they bring to the table. So you bring those 2 things, mindset, how do I think of things, or my perspective, which is a third, and then my emotional state when I'm talking or conversing about something, the dynamics change. So really, it's the give and take of going, hey, this is what she wants. I don't need to win here. We win here, and we need all of us. We need all of us. There's an aspect of that approach and understanding that humans can make shit so much more complex than it should be. And just working through that and talking through that. There is no way around negotiating and making sure that we are all on the same page. You have to be, you know, relentless. It's ongoing, never ending and relentless communication about the standards and the expectations. And most people aren't willing to do that and or stand up. And so then I'll add another framework, which is, you know, to be solution oriented, encourage and challenge. Most people will be solution oriented and then also encourage, but they fail to challenge people to freaking change, level up, not do that crap anymore. That doesn't fit. That's not our standard and expectation. So whether that's in in your life and your leadership and within your organization, in the community, with your siblings and family. I mean, how many times does effective communication happen with your siblings and your parents? Never, most of the time, because of those two things, how you think and how you feel. But then, especially in your marriage, those things must be ongoing and figure out, negotiated, whatever term you want to use. But if you do not communicate and make sure that there's standards, expectations, boundaries, these are all the things that make it complex as to why things are harder than they should be. And I will finish off in this part is just saying this. There is no bigger life decision, business decision, family, community decision that I've ever made than choosing to ask my wife to marry me. It's the biggest, most impactful relationship. So basically it was my parents and God, and then she was the one who took me to my next level because how it is that we fellowship together and raise our children, Brother JM.
So you keep saying two of my favorite words, but you say them together, and it's something that is clearly important to you, and that's level up. You talk about leveling up in relationships, leveling up in business. I mean, this is a profound idea for you. Talk to me about leveling up and where people could get better at possibly doing it, because I believe that there's no greater investment than investing in yourself. And I have to imagine that's part of your leveling up, but I want to hear your take on it because you keep saying it. I just want to dig into it a little bit more.
Yeah. So the level up to me starts with the internal change, metamorphosis, and transformation that creates outward performance and results. Let me say that again. So level up to me, its starting point is inward transformation, metamorphosis of change inwardly with outward performance and results. So basically, according to empowerment is the granting of authority and permission to do, become, and achieve what you want in life, leadership, and business, to now claim your rights and take control of your life. So besides the industry specific knowledge and training needed to be fundamentally sound and perform at high levels within your industry, level up starts within each and every one of us that's an individual. And it's an inward deal that you know what you believe in, that you know who you are, that you know the direction that you want to go, that you know how to support yourself, know how to survive, not kill yourself doing dumb stuff, right? And you know the difference between right and wrong. Most people think that their level up is within their industry or what they do for a living to now acquire transactions and make monies and have prosperity through earning potential. My approach to life, leadership, and business level up is within the individual. If you don't know you and you're not really sure where you want to go, what the goals are, like the exact knowledge that you want to achieve, if those things are missing, everything else is going to always feel like it doesn't work. It doesn't fit. This isn't for me. So some of us, and the majority of Americans, are really just doing what they have to do, not doing what they would like to do to make a living. I get that. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point in our maturity and our level up in terms of being a human being, person, social being, father, married, you have to look within is what I have found. Not theory here. I'm not talking theory or some stuff I read. I'm talking about my own personal experiences and what it is that I do with Fortune 1,500 and 100 companies that were already high performing cultures before I got there. And then in getting there, not only did I teach what it is that I teach, but I also was able to go and qualify that what it is that I'm doing in terms of empowering individuals that now bring their individual best because they've developed themselves personally as a human being to level up. Then they advance themselves professionally in what they were doing for money or their career to level up. And they appreciate it and they love themselves in terms of their level up. Now the level up started to chase them while they became more effective and efficient at now chasing what it is that they wanted at the same time, Brother JM. And that has been my experience.
So if I could, I would love to take the confidence that you have and take that to so many folks that have so much capabilities and potential. My question is, brother, when you were coming from college football coach to literally speaking on national stages, quick, was there any level of imposter syndrome that happened to you? And I'm asking this very specifically because I watch it all the time, man, where people are like, I'm not worthy. What have I done? Did you have any of those feelings, brother? And do they still ever show up for you? And I'm asking that very specifically because I want people to hear what he's about to say.
Oh my goodness. Every day, it is the natural conversation that we have for ourselves, especially for someone like me, that just in this first quarter, I added 5 industries to my 30 that was just last year that I have no relevant experience or expertise. So you want to talk about imposter syndrome? Like, who am I to be standing in front of the United States Secret Service in Washington, D.C. at the United States Secret Service? Do you think someone like me with this confidence? But this is the thing that I would add to that, right? I have already referred to the framework of human connection, validation, and value. Can I do that? Right? Even though I have never been a Secret Service agent, never worked in that industry, let alone Jack in the Box, Corner Bakeries, Denny's, Umpqua Bank, Edward Jones. I could go down the list, Mass Mutual, the banks that I've worked with. I have no relevant experience or expertise, but yet I know this, that when you take your confidence and you add competence in terms of helping people level up, and you create human connection, validation, and value. And who am I to deny what it is that God created me to be within my faith, created in the image and the likeness of He who created me, that has qualified me to go places and go beyond what it is that I was even qualified for. So I lean on that faith and know that my competence should match my confidence, because I put in the down dirty work to sit in this office and prepare the 4 to 5 hours for a 45, 1 minute, 2-hour presentation that's now a 10-hour process, mastering my curriculum so that now when the ball snapped or the ball's tipped or the hockey puck dropped, or I step on to now take my driver and drive, I am not only just confident, my preparation had made me competent and overqualified for the situation it is. And then the third part is willing to live with the consequences of failing while I'm going through this test. Most people won't do that. But again, I am no different than anyone else, right? I feel those same things, but I'm willing to live with the consequences of failing and falling flat on my ass in front of all these people. But instead of that, because I did it, I got a standing ovation and my kids were there. So be careful, this imposter syndrome and the negativity and all these things that you spew around, because who is your real audience is always watching. And because of that, when I say something to my kids are like, gotcha, Dad, my bad. I'll get that done. I'll clean my room. I'll do these things, because those things don't change. But now I leverage that success and that experience to now promote the things it is that I truly believe in, so it could be consistent. And in that imposter syndrome, let me add one more thing. 21 days creates a habit, but 42 days creates a life. You want to do something like, I was like 258 pounds during COVID. I'm now 219 pounds right now, because I stopped drinking soda, stopped eating a 4th meal after Sports Center, right? I stopped drinking alcohol every single day, dessert after every meal. This Polynesian, I mean, look at me. I'm the skinniest Polynesian you probably most people ever seen, right? But that's the thing about imposter syndrome, is you tie those frameworks I just referred to and then this consistency, and you will still have it, but you'll be able to overcome it and then actually perform at your highest levels, is what I've experienced, Brother Jan.
Yeah, your perspective is remarkable. And perspective is such an interesting word right now, because our world is in some challenging spaces, shall we say? Have we lost perspective, brother, as a community of people? have we lost a little bit of perspective, brother? And I don't know the exact answer. I really don't. This is just honestly a philosophical question because there's so much pain and hurt out there, but I know there's a lot of us out there that are trying to spread love. How do we continue to change this perspective? Because the world's not doom and gloom, in my opinion. It certainly doesn't have to be. So what's happening out there, brother? What are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I know this is an old adage, man, but I really do just control what I can. And that really impacts on a minute to minute, hour by hour, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and bi-quarterly basis, my family. And though I cannot control really the headlines and all how things are being framed out there, that's what we try to do, is have perspective of gratitude and thankfulness, and then impacting positively in terms of what I feel should be the approach all over our society, which historically we have always been in some kind of jam. Let's just be real with that. I mean, whether that was the Civil War, maybe our independence, let's start with that as a country. And then going into the Civil War, getting through the industrial age, and then the shifting of industries into the market that we are now. We have always been going through some stuff. And in that, that's what we're trying to do, is versus trying to debate others of what is right and wrong, is really accepting others for their differences and their differences of opinion. And just remembering, because of all of the things it is that I know I still need to learn, and every day I come to that realization, is also the realization that we do still all have the same needs, and we're all human. And that human connection, validation, and value, and doing what we can to move the needle in our various communities, which I do every day. In terms of the kids we try to impact through Invictus Youth Foundation, my free programs for youth, and then really coaching people to be the best that they can be, and then have the chain reaction opposite to what it is that I'm seeing out there. And that is the way that I hope to influence and do something that is concrete, that can impact positively how people think, feel, what they do, how they see things, and how they say things. Brother JM.
So I'm curious, on a daily basis, because of how your perspective of gratitude, your attitude of gratitude, everything that you've brought to the table, your faith, how do you consume, or do you consume media at all? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that, because again, you're a positive dude and you are helping uplift. You're working with the Secret Service. So it's not like your head's in the sand. How are you kind of navigating those waters to not allow yourself to go down that negative path, brother? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, versus what a lot of personal development people say is stay away from the news. I want to make sure that I'm fully aware of my surroundings and my environment. I am constantly reading something about something that has to do with impacting how people think, feel, what they do, how they see things, and how they say things, how I can create as a speaker and a coach, human connection, validation, and value. So current events and what is going on in the news is something that I need to be able to tie in with my clients in terms of making human connection every day. And really how I take the current content of really my two approaches to life, leadership, and business is from my first book, Life Champion, and now Empowerment to Success, is you breathe fresh air and create human connection and freshness into the content when you put current events into that. So, and I consume everything and anything that I can, especially lately, because my new level up is I've been playing golf for 6 years because I throw a golf tournament, but I usually just play and go to the driving range once a year, play twice a year in terms of going to the driving range. So now I'm going weekly to the driving range. And so I'm consuming content on how to level up in that. I did this with snowboarding the last 3 years, where I blew out my shoulder trying to learn something I've never done as a 42-year-old, trying to learn how to snowboard the first time. Just like golf, it whips my ass, because those things don't care about what you think and what you feel. It's just what you do. Right. So that's what it is that I try to do, is consume the things that level me up in one way in terms of media and content that levels me up in everything to remind myself, even though you have never been good at this, right? Repetition, getting better, right? And putting in the discipline and the reps to get better in this thing. And then yesterday, I mean, I would hit my driver and I barely go 100, man, a hundo. And then yesterday I'm hitting like 250. It's to prove myself, okay, if I can do this thing, I can do all things. So I'm always looking at the content and media to help my family level up. What are the frameworks and the approaches out there that are proven, that are aligned and congruent with my family and I, that I could help Junior with baseball or with track, Susan Mellor with volleyball or swimming. Though I've never done any of those things, I'm always consuming things that'll help me level up. And then I just tie it into my daily experiences with my clients so that they feel that I'm a human being, that we all struggle and going through the same things, and being a professional chauffeur for my two kids starting at 2 p.m. every day. I mean, I do all these glossing. They're like, man, you spoke in here, you're this, you're the Hall of Fame, that, and you're doing this, won all these championships, BCS Bowl games, and all that. And I'm like, yeah, what you doing right now? Picking up my kid from school. But that's what I want to do. So that would be my approach to that, is I consume so many things of value that have to do with faith, family, community, raising money, and helping my clients through content that everybody's talking about. I don't post it, but when my client wants to talk about it, I need to have an opinion so I can build a human connection, raise their validation and value in what they do.
Well, I'm being that you're working on golf. Did you see what Scotty Scheffler just said after winning the Masters, by the way?
No, I didn't see that. No.
All right, brother. When you get a chance, I want you to go check it out.
Okay.
Basically, they're asking this dude before Sunday, what was your mindset going in? And he's like, yeah, I wasn't nervous. Why would I be? God comes first. And his faith in everything was like, look, if I win this golf tournament, if I lose this golf, it doesn't change who I am as a human being. It's beautiful, brother. And you're wearing the Nike shirt. You're talking about golf. So I just had to get you to go.
Oh my gosh. I watched him on Friday and Saturday prior to my daughter's volleyball tournament where he won the green jacket, but he was just playing phenomenal, right? And so you don't value golf and the shots those guys make on TV until you try to do it yourself. Then you're just like, oh my gosh, that was so bad. Come on, JM, real talk, right? Real talk.
We're not even playing the same game. Let's just be clear.
That's real.
Ridiculous. But I'll tell you, man, again, I don't care if people are spiritual or not. Just go listen to what he says. The amount of faith he has in, whether for him, it's God. For others, it could be whatever your faith is.
Yes,
he
sir.
has this amazing perspective. So I know you'll appreciate it, Coach V. I can't believe it. It's already like 40 minutes we're into this. I want to make sure that I give you open forum. Anything I didn't ask you that you're like, man, I got to share this. I want to tell the audience this before we start to wrap things up. So open mic, brother, anything you want to just share that I didn't know enough to ask.
Oh, it's all good, man. Just thank you again to you and my former classmate, Lisa, for the opportunity and the connection, for connecting us, because we are so aligned and congruent in what it is that we do, JM, especially your personal, spiritual, and family approach to things. My wife and I subscribe to, and we follow what you guys do and how you do it and how you say it. And really, I think that I would be remiss if I just didn't remind people that your faith can be what it is that you want to be. But often my clients are taken back when I remind them that eternity is a long time in comparison to the 75 to 110 years if we're very blessed and fortunate to live on this planet and to have and enjoy life. So just that you have a plan for your death, and my people that are non-religious or have a faith and they're like, well, I don't need to worry about that because I don't believe in anything. Yeah, but it could also be a step of just taking care of your tombstone and your plot so that your kids don't have to take care of it. And they'll be going through their own emotional state and the things it is that they're going through. But if you would think a little bit further than that, is did the people you love know you love them? Will anybody remember you? Did you impact anybody other than yourself in terms of leveling up people because you've been leveled up and you've been gaining this huge awareness and life-changing approach? Did you help anybody else do those things? And when they say your name, and that's one of the things that really clicked with me the last 5 years that my kids are playing sports, that with a name like Viliami Tuivai, and Junior has my name and Susan Mele has her name on the back of her jerseys, is I'll hear people just be like, hey, is that Coach V's kid? And just hearing that, and then people saying, hey, I know what you do for the community. I go to places and I'm trying to learn how to surf. And just because of the things I've done for others, not for myself, it's just like, hey, your money's no good here, V. This surfing lesson and all the equipment we brought and the shoes for you and the kids, man, it's just our give back for all the things it is that you do. So just making sure that we all have an understanding that there are choices that we make that have huge consequences. And there's an eternal one for the faith that is that we choose to subscribe to. And that's to make sure that you understand that because we don't know when it is our last day, even though we know our birthday, that we build the legacy that has value, and that the projects it is that we're doing now should be so big that it is our kids that'll be the ones finishing off those billion-dollar or huge, impactful worldwide projects. We won't be here to see the last stone put on there, but it is the legacy it is that we leave, that we make sure that that continues, and that when people hear the name J.M. Ryerson, Life Champion, Coach V, or Let's Go Win, that it is one that has a legacy that is filled with impacting others, and then also being an example for how to achieve and succeed, and then translate that into joy, peace, happiness, fulfillment, love, and family time. Thank you, Brother JM.
Man, I had more questions, but I'm not going to interrupt that because that is profound, brother. I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. Brother, I want people to go see you. I want them to find out more about what you're doing, and where's the best place for people to connect with you online, really just to get more Coach V in their life?
Yeah, a website is being reconstructed right now, but we are at coach-v.com, www.coach, COACH-V as in Victor.com. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and just find me at Coach Viliami, Viliami. DM me, reach out, and then I or my staff will get back to you right away. Thank you for that, Jam.
Truly my pleasure. And thank you for being, you guys. I mean, brother, you are as authentic, genuine, real, just one of those human beings you got to have in your life. So I hope everybody does. And I appreciate you. You guys go check him out. I mean, you heard the energy, you heard the passion, you heard the authenticity. There's so much this man can provide to you, where you will learn. Every time I've spoken with him, I get better, I level up. So I want you all to go check him out. I also take a moment to subscribe to the podcast, do a 5-star rating, trying to grow this thing, man. We need more people to hear the Coach V's of the world. So I'll go ahead and take your time to do that. And remember, until next time, your mindset matters. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.